Okay, welcome everyone to the July 31st, 2021 Kern County Redistricting meeting hearing. I want to remind everyone of a couple of things. One, you can access the Spanish conference line to hear a translation in Spanish. The number is 1-831-296-3421. And the conference ID is 925-656-173. I believe we had a graphic up with that information as well. The English conference line, if you're joining us remotely, same phone number, ID 766-290-430. The second thing I want to remind everyone of, it is required that we record all these meetings, so this meeting is being recorded. So any comments or questions or testimony you provide will be part of the record that will be put on our Kern County Redistricting website. So we're excited to have our consultant here with Redistricting Partners, Paul Mitchell. He's going to provide some really helpful information to everybody, and we're going to start with an overview or PowerPoint. For those of you that attended the prior virtual workshops, it's much like that PowerPoint presentation, but we'll get into a little more detail regarding the mapping and exercise for those of you that are in the chambers. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Mitchell to go over the overview of redistricting in Kern County.
Thank you very much, Jason. I'm Paul Mitchell with Redistricting Partners, and I'm going to go over a brief presentation and then show how people who are in person can participate online and what the options will be for people who are participating virtually. So welcome to the meeting. We're going to cover some of the redistricting basics, what are traditional redistricting principles, the timeline, what communities of interest are, and that is the main function of these early hearings. Go through a identification of the mapping tool that will be done online and the tool that will be done for the in-person meetings. We will receive then public testimony on communities of interest and review the public hearing schedule. So redistricting is the process of rebalancing population every 10 years so that each of the supervisorial districts will be equal in size, have the same number of people. This is something that most people think about when they think about Congress or the legislature, but it is also happening to be done for local governments. The idea of redistricting is that when you have districts that are balanced, then everybody has equal access to their representative and they have equal voting strength. When districts are unbalanced, then their voting strength can be diluted, or some people's voting strength can be strengthened. If you can imagine, if you had two districts and one district had 100,000 people and one district had 50,000 people, the people in the 50,000 person district would actually have twice as much political representation. They'd have twice as much voting power. So balancing these districts within a reasonable amount is the goal of the redistricting process. And Kern County, along with other local governments, will be having to redo this. The Fair Maps Act requires 4 public hearings at least, including outreach to the community, that happens before the line drawing process begins. There will be these community outreach hearings. There will be ways to submit public input, either verbally through a form on the website, through public maps, or through online maps. So there will be multiple ways to do that and to be have an opportunity to be involved. When draft maps are created, those draft maps will be made available to the public prior to any discussion about those draft maps, and that'll give the opportunity for the public to review draft maps, give their input, suggest changes, or just give feedback on the maps that are being considered prior to any hearing. The structure of these hearings are broken down into a timeline, starting with our first public redistricting hearing, which happened earlier this year. Our outreach hearings, the first of which is happening now, the first public one, or the first in-person one. Prior to this, we did have one online virtual public engagement meeting, and then one that was primarily Spanish language virtual engagement meeting. The census data is expected to be released September 23rd. That is, we're using the term expected date because we are expecting the census to be released, the data to be released to the state sometime in mid-August, and then expecting the state to provide counties and cities with the redistricting data sets with all the necessary adjustments by September 23rd. The current deadline for cities and counties that have primary elections to complete their redistricting process is mid-December, and that is the deadline for the Board of Supervisors to pass the final districting plan. There are a number of traditional redistricting criteria that are going to be utilized by the county supervisors in order to make sure that this process is done in a way that is open, fair, and represents the public in the line drawing process. And one of the first criteria that they're going to be utilizing from the Fair Maps Act is that districts are going to be relatively equal sized. And that's going to be based on the number of residents or people based on the decennial census, not some other part of calculation like registered voters or citizens or some other group. It's going to be a full count of the total population that's going to balance each of the districts. Districts are going to be contiguous, meaning they're going to be whole parts. They're not going to hop or jump around the county. They're going to be easily identifiable, understandable by voters, whole districts. We're going to maintain communities of interest. What does that mean? Well, communities of interest are the building blocks of the redistricting process. So let's talk about these communities of interest a little bit here. Communities of interest are subjective. That means that we want to hear from the public what they believe their communities of interest are. They are also intended to be really open-ended and inclusive. There are some Voting Rights Act communities that would be considered communities of interest as well. Latinos, Asians, and African Americans are key Voting Rights Act communities in California, but it could also include different groups based on nationality, language, national origin, and we will be looking at all of these communities of interest as part of the building blocks of the line drawing process. One thing that is noteworthy is that while communities of interest may include race or ethnicity, that cannot be the predominant factor in drawing district boundaries unless there is a guidance from legal counsel that there's a need under Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act to draw districts in a way that doesn't dilute the voting power of one of those minority groups in a district where they can be more than 50% of one district. The types of communities of interest that we want to hear about at these hearings and that will be used as the building blocks for the redistricting process can include any of these types of groups and many, many more. So you can think of your community of interest based on where you take your kids to school and where you shop and where you have recreation and where you go hiking or where you go rafting. It could be where you go to church or the community you live in and its cultural history. The languages spoken in your community, whether you're in an arts district or downtown area, a rural area, an agricultural area. All of these things are communities of interest. And the idea would be that if you have these sets of communities of interest that can be identified, we wouldn't want to draw districts that just goes through and splits them all so that they're all 1/2 or 1/3 in different districts. We want to draw districts in a way that maximizes their representative strength in a single district. That's what the law right now requires. So if there was an arts district and that arts district came forward and identified itself as a community of interest, the goal would be to help that arts district by drawing them into one supervisorial district so that when they do have an issue, they have a clear understanding of what county supervisor they should be going to and that their needs aren't dispersed among multiple county supervisors that may not view them all as being a real important part of their district. There are things that cannot be utilized as a community of interest. Under state law, you cannot use political party affiliation incumbents or candidates as communities of interest. So if somebody were to come forward and say, I'm with the Libertarian Party and I want to draw a district to maximize the power of the Libertarian voters, that is the kind of input that would not be used in drawing districts. It would not be legal for us to utilize that as a community of interest. And the same is true with these other criteria. Now, there are other things that are sometimes hard to consider as a community of interest. So when we hear people's testimony about their community of interest, we really want to make sure we're honing in on the types of community of interest that can be better used in redistricting. Imagine a group that has a community and has shared characteristics, but they're just spread throughout the entire county and they have no geographic center. It would be hard to utilize that in the redistricting process because it would be hard to draw something that's spread countywide into one district. So the idea of redistricting is really to identify these communities of interest. And we'll give some examples as to how you can do this in order to have the best impact on the redistricting process. So when you're testifying, or if you're involved in the redistricting process as a supervisor, the way you want to talk about these and the way you want to listen for these communities of interest is based on these 3 questions. What is the community's characteristic? What is its bond? What is its culture? What is the thing that it has, and how do you articulate that? What do you name it? What do you call it? So in the arts district example, maybe it's an arts district and its culture has to do with the age of the people who live there and the activities and the work that the people do, and it's the part ingrained in the culture of that arts district. Is the community geographic in nature? Can you map it? Well, maybe with an arts district you can say, well, these are the different galleries that are in our arts district. These are the different little coffee shops that we go hang out in. This is the area where there's a lot of the homes that the individuals who are part of the arts community live in. And so you can actually identify its footprint. Where is it located? It doesn't have to be a scientific, super specific idea of exactly where everything is, but as a member of the public, you could just draw a little circle and say, it's kind of in this area. Giving that kind of input is really valuable. And then what is the community's relationship with the jurisdiction that's being redistricted? How does the policy that is being done at the county supervisors impact this community of interest? So again, to draw from the arts district idea, maybe the county is involved in zoning of where you can put certain facilities. Maybe the county is in charge of making sure that there's public parking facilities and that there's other access to necessary things for the arts community to thrive, for the businesses to be successful, for the homes to be safe, for the neighborhood to have support in its identified culture. And so with something like that, whether it's this idea of a arts district as a community of interest, or whether it's an agricultural community of interest, that you can identify its footprint, identify its connection to county government, and identify its culture, its shared interest, and give it a name. All of that is really critical in this line drawing process. So we're going to give some examples of some of these. So let's say that a group of renters who lives downtown testifies to one of these hearings and says we're a community of interest. Is that justified? Is that a community of interest? Well, we would say yes. A group of renters is very easily mapped. They do share oftentimes shared policy concerns before a county board of supervisors, and their needs could be addressed by their elected officials. One side note on this is that not only are renters a group that can come up and identify themselves on a map, but it's also something that is in the data collected by the American Community Survey of the U.S. Census Bureau. And so we do have the ability to actually essentially turn on the data in our mapping tools in order to help identify that area. In case somebody says, I'm a renter and I think we're in this area, we could actually bring up the data from the census to help better identify those communities. A historically recognized town going back to the late 1800s within a county, should the county board of supervisors prioritize this area? Well, in the law, they're actually recognized as a potential community of interest. And this could have two different scenarios. It could be an area that used to be a thriving town and now has less population, maybe has real critical needs for the people who are still living there. Or it could be the history within a town that's still thriving. So let's say the part of town is still growing and prospering, but there was a long history of redlining, or there was a long history of the policies that were being imposed upon that community in 20, 50, 100 years ago that were hurting them economically, hurting them culturally, and so that could still be coming forward in a redistricting process where people could say, hey, this area here has been suffering for decades from policies at the county or city or statewide or federal level, and it is a community of interest. A group of dog owners living in the suburbs, they got their elected officials to put a water fountain at the dog park. Is that a community of interest? Actually, probably is. Now, a community of interest for the county supervisors that argument might be stronger if the county supervisors are the ones that fund the dog parks, if it was their water fountain that they're putting in. But even if not, the fact that a community like this has a geographic footprint, that they can identify themselves, and they probably have other issues before the county supervisors. Maybe it's safety at night, maybe it's street lamps, maybe it's sidewalks, maybe it's well-paved roads, maybe it's public safety. There's all kinds of things that could fall into the bucket of issues at the county supervisor level that would be really strengthening the argument for a group like this to identify themselves as a community of interest. A statewide group of Dodgers fans, they came to the county supervisors and said, well, we're a community of interest. Is that one that would be helpful in the redistricting process? Probably not. It's probably unlikely that the Dodger fan community of interest is specifically located in one part of the county. It's probably overlapping throughout the whole county, the whole state. There's places all over the state that have fans of baseball. And it's pretty unlikely that the county supervisors have anything to do with, who the Dodgers pick up in free agency or, what they're serving at the Dodger games. But if the Dodgers were relocating Bakersfield, and the county was funding their relocation and building them a stadium and putting together parking and giving them financial incentives, then maybe it would be a community of interest because people would have real policy issues regarding that kind of a thing. But generally, if somebody comes up and just says, hey, I don't like the weather, that's my community of interest, that's not something that necessarily would be very helpful in the redistricting process. Now, there are ways that the community can give this input. One of them is a community of interest worksheet utilizing form that is on the website to be able to give input and give these answers essentially to what is your community of interest. That kind of input is very valuable. It'll be collected, it'll be made public, it'll allow us to help identify some of the building blocks in the redistricting process. We're doing map submissions. We're looking at two types of mapping submissions. One is simply identify your community of interest. Before we have any draft maps, before we have any final census data, really the most valuable thing right now is to help us identify those building blocks. So where is your agricultural community of interest? Where is your downtown community of interest? Where is your, arts district community of interest, or whatever it is that your community of interest is? Trying to put that on a map is really critical, or describe it with those community of interest forms. We will be looking forward to public engagement in drawing actual draft plans. This is actually very exciting, I think, for people who are members of the public that want to be engaged, because the way the law is written, there's actually a 3-week window after the data is released, but before the county supervisors can draft their own plans. In that 3-week window, it's like a 3-week head start for the community to take their time, put together their, organizationally or their friends or family, and draw up draft maps. The county's going to be providing the tools to do that, and you'll be able to draft maps before the county gets to. The tool that will be on the website to allow you to create your communities of interest is Redistricting. That tool will also allow you to draw the draft maps, and you'll be able to gain access to that from the county website. For a demonstration of this, there are going to be two avenues to do that. One is to go back and watch one of the two hearings that we did that were virtual hearings. We have one of them with a demonstration of the software in English and one of them with a demonstration of the software in Spanish. Then also, there will be a video put together to allow you to watch a video demonstration. The second thing is there are going to be draft paper maps for the public to use at the outreach hearings to draw their community of interest. And those who are here today will have the ability to get one of these maps. They're a laminated map of both the entire county and then a zoom in of the city of Bakersfield in order to kind of get some better detail. And with these, the community will be able to identify their community of interest, tell us what it is, put their name and email if they want, it's optional, and submit that as actual testimony. If you come and you fill one of these out, we can either take one of these forms, but these maps back from you, or if you want to keep it as a nice little souvenir, we can take a picture of it and have that picture be the submitted testimony. These maps will be very helpful as we start to construct potential districts. So I really encourage you to come down to one of these public in-person meetings and fill out one of these maps or use the online tool to do the same. We had the virtual informational meetings on the 19th and 20th, and then we have this hybrid in-person virtual public hearing for getting more public engagement. And to get more information, please visit the website. There's a specific website dedicated just to, it's a part of the county's overall website, but it's dedicated to the redistricting process. And you can go to this link to get more information. And with that, I will go ahead and close up.
All right, thank you, Paul. I do want to remind people this presentation is on the website in Spanish and Punjabi as well. It's easy to access. I know the website address up there with backslashes and everything else may not be as easy to access, but if you go to kerncounty.com, it's one of the first buttons that you can link to on the kerncounty.com website, and it has a lot of good information, including this PowerPoint in Spanish and Punjabi, and it's evolving and growing with more information each week, and soon to be included will be the Redistricting capability for you to draw your community of interest and eventually full maps. So with that information, and again, thank you, Paul, I want to open it up to any comments people in board chambers here present with us today have related to the overview. If there's anyone that wants to speak at this point, go ahead. If you would please state your name for the record before you make your comment. No, you right there. Can you turn around? Thank you.
Hello, Kern County Redistricting process organizers. My name is Joanna Coronado. I'm a community resident. First of all, I would like to thank Kern County staff for promptly responding to my email that I sent about redistricting. Those responses were really helpful. I did send a follow-up email, but I'm not sure if that got quite through. So I do have a few more clarifications based on that email and based on this meeting right now. On the timeline, it said that April 21st was the first public hearing for redistricting process. However, I was told that July 31st is the first public redistricting hearing process. And so I'm wondering which one is the first. And it was also mentioned that 3 more will follow after receiving the census information. Are you guys just gonna have 4 public hearings in total, or is it going to be 5 public hearings in total? I just want to know which one's the first public hearing. And following up on that, The July, from what I understand, the July 19th and July 20th are workshops. However, when you go to the website, it has them under public hearings. Is it possible to separate them as workshops and as public hearings just so the public won't get confused? That's one point. The second point, thank you guys for the demonstrations, for the video and online, for the districtr.org/California website. However, is it possible to also have hands-on workshops as well? For example, in the high schools, when time comes for FAFSA, what they do is they use the computer labs, have people come in, and they have the step-by-step process. And if anyone has any questions, and if they're struggling to draw the maps, there's people there available to help. Is it possible to have those type of workshops as well? Because I feel like they'd be very helpful for the public in this process. Thank you very much for your time. That is all for my questions.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Coronado. We did absolutely receive your first email related to the semantics of workshop and hearing, and we're going to clean that up. The first workshops were basically that meetings, and hearings are more of a technical term that satisfy the state requirement for a minimum of 4 public hearings. So I think the information and the intent is the same in terms of educating and informing the public and getting their testimony. But in terms of meeting the state requirement for hearings, we're counting this as the first hearing. We'll have a minimum of 3 more hearings to satisfy that state requirement of 4. But we're going to have several meetings and workshops like we have already that may not in terms of the semantics, qualify as a hearing, but plenty of outreach and opportunity to do hands-on, like you mentioned, in addition to having a video tutorial with the mapping process. So we are working through that based on your first email and continue to look forward to working with you.
Thank you, can I? Is it possible that... Leave it on the record. Sorry. Is it possible then to clarify that on the website, because it right now has April 21st, July 19th, and July 20th has public hearings, but since this is considered the first public hearing, is it possible to, have to separate workshops and then public hearings just so people won't get confused?
Yes, we hope to have that resolved early next week. We're working with our ITS to clean that up so it's a little clearer to the public.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lori Pasante, and I'm with the Dolores Huerta Foundation, Department of Civic Engagement. I have been asking around to see if folks are hearing about the redistricting opportunities here in Kern County, and I haven't gotten a single yes yet. So I'd like to point out that perhaps some additional promotion is needed in multiple languages. I don't know that we're really seeing any kind of saturation in the community. Even some of the more engaged people are telling me they haven't heard anything at all. Additionally, it appears to be the case that your website has additional upcoming redistricting events, but they're listed as TBD and not with any kind of participation information or even dates. It seems pretty doable given what I've observed in other counties, that having those set in advance and set in a consistent manner will help with the promotion and outreach. I know also that I've not myself received any kind of, or my foundation hasn't received any kind of notification as part of outreach, general outreach to CBOs, and other folks I've spoken to who are also at other CBOs have not received any kind of information about the redistricting process. So I guess I'm curious, who is on the plan for outreach, and has that been implemented yet? And then I wanted to note also that for today's event, I am being told that the remote participation is not allowed for the folks that are observing online. Maybe we can get some clarification or verification of that. As well as the fact that both conference IDs are providing information in English only, and there's no Spanish at all being provided to anybody today if they're participating remotely. And I think given that at the April 21st workshop, there were 6 Spanish speakers that attempted to speak and only 2 were actually able to do so. I think we need to take another look at participation in non-English speaking languages. And let me see if there was anything else that I wanted to draw to your attention to make sure future events are definitely ubiquitous and well promoted. I think that's pretty much it. But I appreciate very much the presentation of redistricting partners today. I know they worked on the Kern Community College District, and as an adjunct professor out there, I observed that process, and it was very educational. I learned a lot, especially the component I saw today about the Voting Rights Act and the obligations that the county has to draw so-called majority-minority districts under certain circumstances. And given our significant increase in population here in Kern County, I think we're looking at a significant increase in those VRA districts. And I appreciate the clarification and the distinction between that obligation and what is considered to be a community of interest, which is very different. So thank you very much for everything you're providing today.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pasante. We do have a community-based organization list of well over 150 organizations that worked with us on the census. Part of the reason for these workshops is to identify additional communities of interest that need to be added to that. So we do send out notification if your organization, which I believe is, the contact information has changed, please let us know, but we do send out notification to well over 150 organizations that have been involved with this from day one with the census. So we'll continue to update that list and make sure it's current. We do have a challenge working with a consultant in terms of dates. We try and confirm dates as soon as possible based on their schedule, and we'll have those to be determined dates up hopefully in the next couple of weeks so people can plan ahead and continue to work with the media and news organizations in all languages to make sure we get the word out. If there's a challenge with the Spanish conference line, today I'm unaware of it. Are you, Fernando, are you having any? Okay. I'm unaware of it, and I apologize. We have done these and are looking to do these meetings and hearings and workshops, whatever you want to call them, in Spanish as a primary language. We did that on July 20th, where it was a Spanish-speaking meeting. So we are doing everything we can to accommodate, not only with translation, but scheduling these meetings with Spanish as a primary language, and we'll continue to work with the community to do that, to make sure everyone's voice is heard. I'm not sure if I covered everything. I didn't have a chance to write down all of your comments and concerns, Lori, but hopefully that addresses most, if not all of them. Yeah, and the recordings are available, not only today's, but the Spanish-speaking meeting that we did on July 20th. So that's available on our website, recording too.
The only one that hasn't been addressed yet is the remote participation. So if people wanted to ask questions or participate remotely, it doesn't appear that they have that chance to do that today. I don't know if that can be something that be provided in the future, especially if we're going to be calling it a hearing.
Yeah, that was the purpose of the conference line. If people are on the line but watching via YouTube or KGov, they can provide comment or testimony via that conference line. So again, I'm unaware if there's any challenges with communication related to those conference lines, but hopefully someone will notify me of that so we can resolve that. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Kern County Redistricting folks. My name is Jesus Garcia, and I'm a 27-year resident here of Kern County. However, my kids are pretty much all in on Kern County. Let me tell you a little bit about them. We have, within our family, we have Julia Thorner Award winners. We have Jimberg Ford Fellows. We have a couple Valley champions in track and cross country. Have a hoop rolling champion of Wellesley. Google that, you'll be impressed. Also have a ASB president at East Bakersfield High School. I really enjoyed going to East Bakersfield High School when we had the parent meetings, the library, and the committees. One thing about East Bakersfield High that I enjoyed was looking at the wall of school presidents. And going back to the 20s or whatever, that wall was all a bunch of nice, pretty-looking little white boys. Around the 2000s and so, the colors began to change, and now my daughter's beautiful picture will be up there very soon. That evolution of East High is a representation of the evolution of Kern County. That evolution of East High, however, is not represented currently on the Board of Supervisors. The current Board of Supervisors right now does not reflect the ethnic makeup of today's and tomorrow's Kern County. In fact, Kern County has been the poster child for bad geography and has only moved in its redistricting process when forced to by federal and state laws. The 1995 creation of the 5th District was only done after federal lawsuit. They skipped then 25 years or more to the mid-2080s when a second Latino district was created. The data indicated this could have been done in 2010. Today, the population of Kern County, according to the American Community Survey, is about 70% plus people of color. That again is not reflected on the board of Supervisors. I anticipate 2010 data is going to show that even more. So what I'm saying here is, I demand that the Board of Supervisors follow not only the foundation and spirit, but also the spirit of the Fair Maps Act. That it be done on all the criteria that is relevant to the Fair Maps Act, population, communities of interest, and all the above. So that is my pitch. I also have a request of redistricting partners here. One, I'm very happy that we're going to be using the redistrictor tool and others to present data. I would suggest, as one of the previous speakers said, that there actually be training sessions for the community to come in and see all the tools that are available. I'd also request that the data be available on the website as downloadable shapefiles or downloadable geodatabases. It's great to have the PDF maps, but it's also great to even have a lookup maps, which we don't have right now. But it'd also be great if we could download the data so that the community as a whole can begin to use that. The final one, I have a very personal request. When the PDF maps go up, please use a colorblind palette. I'm colorblind. I do not see greens and pinks very, very well. I've seen other maps by other vendors, not redistricting partners, where the colors were very confusing, and I've actually asked to ask. So I don't know if this is an ADA thing, but it's a very personal thing. Please use colorblind palettes. Again, thank you very much. And Google hoop rolling at Wellesley.
All right, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Devlin Harbor, and I just had a quick question. I know Paul Mitchell spoke about for the Voting Rights Act, for minority majority districts to be drawn, they need to be provided by legal counsel and that it cannot be divided by race. I was just curious if in Kern County there is any update, if there are any minority majority districts that can be drawn, or the process of the Voting Rights Act and how that's going to be moving forward. Thank you.
My understanding is there's not an update. We don't have 2020 census data to come into compliance with the Voting Rights Act. a few years ago was 2010 data with some projections based on more recent demographics. But until we get census data in the next couple of months, there's no update on that. Is the only comment I would have.
Mi nombre es Teresa Macías.
My name is Teresa Macias.
Y primero que nada, gracias por estas juntas.
First of all, thank you for these meetings.
La interpretación es en español.
The Spanish interpretation.
Y gracias por el trabajo. Pero sin embargo, sí me gustaría que tuvieran un equipo más preparado todavía de interpretar para la comunidad.
Thank you. I would like to have an interpreter team that's better prepared for the community.
Porque no toda la comunidad allá afuera está escuchando de estos programas.
Because not all the community out there is hearing about these meetings.
Quizás ver algo, cómo podemos tener una proyección de realmente llegar al habitante, al pueblo.
Perhaps we have a projection so we can really reach the people.
Porque no toda la gente sabe que estamos rediseñando los distritos.
Because not everyone knows we're redrawing the districts.
Y obviamente no sabemos en qué se basa.
Obviously, we do not know what it's based on.
Yo porque ahora vine para acá, pero
I came here today.
sin embargo, sabemos que el censo del 2020,
But we do know that the 2020 census,
mucha gente no está contada.
many people were not counted.
Tuvieron miedo.
They were afraid.
Entonces va a quedar gente fuera de los distritos.
So there will be people excluded from the districts.
Entonces, ¿cómo estamos solucionando ese problema?
So how are we solving that problem?
Y hay mucha gente de interés, latinos, africanos, hay muchos
There are many people of interest, Latinos, African Americans, there are many
que vamos a quedar fuera del distrito.
that will be left out of the district.
Entonces, queremos ver cómo proyectarnos para que realmente se haga una distribución
Okay.
correcta,
So we want to know if we can project ourselves so we can have a redistricting, una que es que,
una redistribución de acuerdo a las necesidades,
according to the needs,
de acuerdo a la comunidad, pues.
to the community,
Y entre ellos están las escuelas,
including schools,
más hospitales,
Hospitals,
centros de recreación
recreation centers.
porque van a quedar un tanto, como no está la población, pues
¿No está qué?
la población, como no se contó toda la población,
Because population was not counted entirely.
entonces va a quedar automáticamente fuera
Automatically, they will be left out
de esos distritos. Entonces,
of those districts.
¿qué proyección podríamos implementar para estar
What kind of projection could we implement?
porque yo apenas de esta reunión me enteré y todo, pero sí hace falta como más proyección de llegar a la comunidad.
I just found out about this meeting, but the community needs to be made aware.
Ya. Y también pues personal dando una información exacta
And personnel that
And-
gives exact information.
ya en español, mapas,
In
todo.
Spanish, when the mapping
Yeah.
and everything, yes.
Entonces, y eso es todo. Y
That's all.
gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Again, we continue to work with our partners and the media and everyone we can to get the word out in multiple languages. So we'll continue to work on that, and I appreciate those comments.
Hello, I'm Joana Coronado, again, community resident. I was wondering if, is it possible, since there was an email list mentioned, if all those present can write their emails on a paper so we can all be added into the redistricting process list so we can be notified directly of when the public hearings will be available. Thank you.
Yeah, I think during the mapping exercise would be a good opportunity. You'll all be given maps with markers to help go through that exercise maybe at that time. If you weren't on the original list that was notified, to identify yourself, your email, your contact information to make sure you're added and or current on that list. So thank you. Okay, any other comment at this time? Otherwise, there will be an opportunity after the mapping exercise to provide testimony specific to your community of interest. They're not general comments, but if you want to provide testimony related to what you identify as your or your neighborhood's community of interest, we can specifically get into that and give you an opportunity to do that. But if there's no other comment at this point, Paul, are you ready to go through the mapping portion?
I just got notification that there's people online on the teams. They have had their hand up for like around 10 minutes, but they're not sure if they're allowed to speak. So is there any issue with that, or?
Sure. Yeah, they're allowed to speak. So we will.
I think there's people. I think there's people with their hands up right now.
Okay.
Pero no están seguros si pueden hablar, si hay problemas sobre eso. Sí, claro, pueden hablar. Sí, hay personas. Sí, hay personas que tienen la mano subida. Sí, claro, pueden hablar. Sí, hay personas. Sí, hay personas que tienen la mano subida. Sí, claro, pueden hablar. Sí, hay personas. Sí, hay personas que tienen la mano subida. Sí, claro, pueden hablar. Sí, hay personas. Sí, hay personas que tienen la mano subida.
I'm getting a lot of noise on the line, but anyways, my name is Troy Hightower, and I have a question. Have you received written comments other than the one that Ms. Coronado mentioned earlier?
Could you repeat your question, please?
I don't know if you heard my question, but I didn't hear any response if you did.
Sorry, sir, I stepped out. Well, can you repeat your question, please? if we received any written comment. I did receive a written comment from Ms. Coronado, who's here in attendance. She asked that I didn't need, or she advised me I didn't need to read it since she was here in person, and relayed those comments. So I haven't checked as of 9 a.m. this morning, since we've been preparing for this meeting, but that was the only written comment we've received in advance of this particular hearing. We've received other written comments in advance of other hearings that were read at those meetings.
Thank you. And just to let you know, there is some kind of technical problems here.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else on the phone that wishes to make a comment? Okay, not seeing any. If we are having technical problems, I want to make sure we try and get to everyone that wants to speak. So I will come back to those on the phone or those in the audience after we do go through the mapping exercise. Obviously, those of you who are joining us remotely on YouTube or KGov won't be able to participate in person in the mapping exercise, but we do have the map up to identify what it will look like for you when this is online, or when we provide paper maps for your community to draw your interest and identify yourself. So just so you're aware of that, even though you're not here to participate in person. So with that, I will turn it over to Paul for now and start that.
Thank you very much, Jason. The exercise that we're going to be utilizing for in-person activities is really simple at this point. We're trying to identify communities of interest, and everybody who has come in person will see that we have maps of the entire county, and then a zoom-in map of just the city of Bakersfield so that you can get more detail as drawing in that area. And what we're looking for is people to identify either in that county-wide map or in the narrower city-focused area map where their community of interest is. You can draw multiple communities of interest. You can utilize multiple maps. You can take these home if you want to have other people fill these out and turn them into the county. But the idea is to try to accomplish those three things that we identified earlier in the presentation. What is the name or character of the community of interest? How do you identify it? That's the community name field on the form. Where is its footprint? It doesn't have to be scientific, but just kind of the area so that we can get an idea for as a building block for future plans. And then give a description of that area. It doesn't have to be a long description. It can be just a short description, but the idea is for us to collect these from the public in these in-person meetings to supplement the online map ones done on Districtor and the community of interest written forms and any other verbal testimony. So for those of us who are in public, feel free as soon as I'm done here to come up and grab a map. We also have dry erase markers. The dry erase markers are great because you can draw and then you can just use a napkin or a tissue or your finger to rub out a line if you want to adjust it and move it around. And then when you're done, please come up to one of the staff so that we can either collect the map from you. If you want to take one home as a souvenir, that's great too. We have extras. Or we'll take a picture of it so that we can have that and have it be put up onto the website as community of interest testimony. This information from this map will be placed online along with all other community of interest testimony. So we thank you for being here and participating. And if you're not here participating in person, then we look forward to having you at another future hearing or have you utilize the online options.
Just a quick comment for those who are joining us remotely. If you want to make comment via phone, the conference line, please mute any external music, or if you're accessing it via YouTube, please mute that. I think a previous caller, there was some external noise that conflicted with the phone call. And so when you do attempt to make any comment via phone, please do mute any external noises, including the channel you may be accessing the video of this meeting. Hopefully that'll resolve the issue. Okay, in the interest of time, for those that want to provide additional comment or testimony, those of you who are still working on your maps, feel free to do so as long as you please, but I do want to make sure for those that have obligations on this Saturday and want to make comment or testimony that we allow them to speak. So I know we did have one additional member in person in the audience that wanted to speak. So ma'am, if you'd like to come back up.
Ceja Betkowitz, and I'm in District 1. And thank you for having these public hearings. I look forward to many more, also including the communities of interest. My community was divided with the last redistricting. So I actually live in the Gosford White Lane, and my other community of interest, Hagen Oaks and Seven Oaks, were put in District 4. Doesn't really make sense. I think they have more in common with my district as well as I have common with their district. How was it that it was split? Seven Oaks, Hagen Oaks, put in with Arvin, Lamont, Wheat Patch, Delano? Doesn't really make sense. The reasoning behind that, I'm really not sure, but I am here to express that I'm very concerned. The demographics in Kern County have been changing years after years after years, even since 2010. I moved from LA County to Kern County in 1985, and it's been changing. It's been changing so much, but yet nothing else has changed. The representation on our Board of Supervisors does not represent the population. Here we are, 2021 is going to continue to change. We have a lot of folks from LA area and from other counties moving into Kern County for a better opportunity, the housing opportunities. Again, it's going to change. Even as we speak, next year, it's going to be different again, and I'm hoping that the representation for this new districting will represent the population in Kern County. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And this is your opportunity to put it on record with a map, the communities and neighborhoods you identified. So please, you as well as all residents, please identify those neighborhoods and communities of your interest so we have a record of it and it can be submitted as testimony. Thank you.
My name is Lori Pesante, Pesante, and I have been a resident of Kern County, gosh, I've left and come back, so probably in total, since 1990. And one of the things I did when I first moved here was my mom got a teaching job up in Lake Isabella at Woodrow Wallace Junior High. And we drove from Greenfield to Lake Isabella every day. I only threw up once. I'm real proud of that. I gotta say, that canyon is no joke. And now that I'm an adult raising my family here, my son has only been able to go to Alta Sierra once to go skiing in the entire time he's been alive. He's 10. We're dealing with climate change, and we don't have anybody on the board who seems to want to stand up and say, yes, we're dealing with climate change. And we certainly don't have any policies that are helping us to deal with it. If anything, we have the antithesis of that. So I would like the community of interest of our mountain communities to be recognized in this county as a whole distinct community that has no current representation associated with it. And when I'm talking about the geography of from Windwolves Preserve to Pine Mountain Club, Fraser Park, Lebec, and Fort Tejon, all the way through the mountains and high desert, and including Tehachapi, Bear Valley Springs, Bodfish, Havilah, Lake Isabella, South Fork, Kernville, and of course my special place, Glenville and Alta Sierra. I'd like our water to be clean, and I want our mountains to be represented by somebody who does not live on the valley floor. And with that, I will turn over my community of interest card.
All right, thank you. Exactly the type of testimony we're looking for, and we appreciate your input. Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers that is wishing to speak or provide testimony on their community of interest? All right, not seeing anyone. Let's see if we're still having some challenges with the conference line. Looks like we have somebody.
Y gracias por su opinión y agradecemos. ¿Alguien más aquí en la sala que quieren hablar o proveer testimonio? Bueno, vamos a ver si tenemos desafíos con las líneas de conferencia. Creo que sí tenemos a alguien.
Okay. I think it's one person. Okay. That's the interpreter talking.
¿Alguien está llamando?
You know, I think we may have sorted it now, so you can go ahead and restart. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Renee West-Delusk. I live in the 1st Supervisorial District in Ridgecrest. I just have a question regarding the mapping. I tried going to that website that they put in the handout for this hearing today, and it doesn't show any place where you can draw a map. Are we supposed to draw our own maps and then just mail them in? Or is there a tool on that website somewhere to draw the map?
Paul, you can provide clarification or correction to this, but I believe we're days away from Kern County being listed as a districtor client and using Redistrictor to submit maps for Kern County. I believe we're still working on the final details of having that ability, but it should be a matter of days. So we're going to have a link to our website. We'll also send out notice to all the groups and media that it's available. And then we recommend whatever way you're comfortable with. If the online platform through Redistrictor, or I'm sorry, called Redistrictor, is the easiest way for you to submit a map, or to print out a map. We'll have them available in PDF, various formats, and send in a hard copy map. But for the, I assume you're referring to Districtor, and Kern County is not up yet, but it should be a matter of days, which will allow you to access that portal and draw your community of interest on Districtor. Does that cover it, Paul? Anything you want to add?
Would have said the tool, the link is to see the program, and if somebody wanted to play around with the program, they could definitely zoom in to Kern County and see how it would look. But the actual program that's going to be set up for the county that it's licensing will be set up in a matter of days and on the Kern County website.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else on the phone conference line who would like to provide testimony?
Yes, this is Troy Hightower again. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I believe you mentioned earlier that you could give a verbal description of a community of interest. I'd like to do that. That's possible.
Absolutely. We're receiving oral testimony on that today. That's part of this hearing, so go ahead if you're ready.
I'd like to identify a community of interest, and it fits the description of what you mentioned earlier in your presentation. For decades, the community has suffered redlining, policies and practices from the city of Bakersfield. And I would identify this on the map from California Avenue South to Brundage Lane, and from Chester Avenue East to South King Street, which is past or east of Union and includes Union Avenue. I can repeat that if you didn't copy it.
I think we heard you fine, sir. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, or does that conclude your testimony?
It does, but I do have concerns about the technical difficulties and the ability to make testimony. I've been trying to call for some time now. I'm glad I got through. But other than that, I'm happy to participate.
Right. Thank you, sir. I share your concerns, and we're working through that and making sure we give everyone an opportunity to speak like you did. So appreciate that.
At this time, is there anyone else on the phone conference line who'd like to leave testimony? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on.
Okay, one last opportunity. I don't see anyone else on the line. One last opportunity for anyone in chambers that wants to provide testimony. I don't know if anyone came in late. Doesn't look like it. But I do want to commit to... I'm sorry, we do have someone on the line that does not want to speak, so we'll allow that person to speak.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, this is Ivan Sandoval, Sandoval, resident of Kern for over 20 years. I believe the mountain communities of Kern County could be better served if they were in one supervisorial district. Geographically, our mountain communities are incredibly different to the communities on the valley floor. And our mountain communities face different environmental issues, and thus I believe it is unfair and unequitable for valley floor residents to fight for supervisorial attention and representation with geographically different communities in the mountains. So therefore I ask the Board of Supervisors, as they move forward with the redistricting, to keep in mind the geographic diversity of our county and keep the mountain communities in one supervisorial district. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would encourage you to draw that. I mean, those of us who have lived in Kern County most of our lives or all of our lives understand the mountain communities and the geography of that, but please, I do encourage you to draw that on a map and submit it for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, absolutely will.
We do have another speaker in chambers that we will allow to speak before we go back to the conference line to see if there's anyone else. Go ahead, sir.
Hi again. This is Jesus Garcia, and as I'm going through this process, I'm actually becoming more comfortable with where the county is going. I love the maps here. I love the fact that these data will be online. But my question is, why is it taking now to do this? As previous speakers have mentioned, there are other jurisdictions, and I'm going to point to Tulare County, just north of us, which is no different from us, that has an entire process ready to go. They have times, they have deadlines, they have procedures online, easy to look up, easy to download. I know the folks here in Kern County's GIS department and in the website department. We have some great people here to do this sort of work. So my question is, why are we not at that same level? Perhaps, again, we're trying to stall some of the process, having great presentations here, but issues of access to the community, issues of outreach, the technology issues we're seeing right here. In this time and age, with the technology and the folks we have here present, there's no excuse for not having the best technology, the best websites, the best communication tools. Again, the county has, again, not been the foremost as regard to the changes that are coming, and believe me, changes are coming. The county 2 years ago spent $12 million for the status quo to prevent basically a change that should have occurred. So be mindful. Kern County, again, is the poster child for doing the wrong thing. But like, I'm a Catholic, so I believe in redemption. So I very much hope that Kern County can become the model for doing community of interest and eventually good lines that will benefit the entire community and not just the select few that have been part of the process from the beginning.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the input and feedback, and we'll continue to work hard on that.
I just got word that everything that the previous two speakers said could not be heard from the folks who are on the team's participation platform. Just so that for future, I'm not sure that we can call this a hearing if we're having so many problems, so I'd like you to consider perhaps having another hearing where maybe we can address all of these issues. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we'll be having several hearings and plenty of opportunity to provide testimony and feedback. Thank you. Do you have anyone else on the line that you look? Sure.
Does anyone wish to leave further public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none, we're going to proceed.
Okay, I just want to thank all of you for coming out on a Saturday morning. I know you probably have much better things to do, but to get involved with your community, provide feedback, input, and testimony is really what this is all about and what we're encouraging you to do and what we will continue to provide you that opportunity to do. So we will I'll make a pledge that within the next week, by next Friday, we'll have more information up on the website related to future hearings, as well as opportunities to provide feedback. That has been pretty clear in terms of a universal request. So we will do that so people can plan accordingly and have that posted, as well as sent out to our group, our listing of partners and community-based organizations. So again, I want to thank everyone for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you at our future hearings and getting your additional feedback. Thank you.
COVID-related hospitalizations, with 7 in the ICU. As of yesterday, our hospitalizations increased from 59